Oh, there we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for joining wherever you're joining from. Welcome to another round of whatever this show is. I still don't really know what to call it. Live Q&A, that's what it's called. Apparently today there's something happening. People are asking about the World Cup. I have not really been paying attention. I will admit, not at all. Yeah, Nils, this is my thoughts exactly. What's the World Cup and can I buy it on B&H? Great questions coming in already. If you do have a question and you want to make sure I see it, please start your message with the letter Q and it'll filter it into a different spot on my screen here so I won't forget to get to it. And yeah, we're going to chat about what's going on with the world of live streaming. Take a look at a couple of new things that we've got on the desk today. So we'll get to those in a minute. And otherwise, yeah, just hang out and have a good time. So we have pulling up my notes. Oh yes, of course. I should always mention if you are wondering why the chat is limited to subscribers only, it is not my sneaky trick to get you to subscribe, although that would be very nice. It's because without that, we get a lot of drive-by spam. So yeah, that's what's going on there. So, okay, a couple new things to check out today. We're going to get to them in a little bit. I have a new audio interface from Comica. This was something that they sent me over a little bit ago, and we're going to check it out and take a look. You might notice one interesting feature is that it has 2 USB ports, but we'll get to that. And also this super fascinating PTZ robot camera from a company called RGBvoice, which I have not heard of before. There's cameras the camera is detachable, but you can also put a phone in there. But there's little cameras all around, so it's like a 360. It's like an auto tracking thing. So we'll take a look at that in a little bit. Until then, what do we have going on in the chat? I don't have a good place for that on my desk. IT never gets old. Are you planning to stream next Sunday? So, okay, holiday schedule for the live stream. Definitely gonna plan on streaming next Sunday. No, nothing irregular there. That will be the Sunday after Christmas morning Pacific time. So if you're in Europe, it'll be a day after the Christmas holidays, I guess. I don't celebrate Christmas, so I'm not really doing anything special. So yeah, I have no reason not to stream. And we'll see who shows up. See what happens. The week after that, however, is New Year's. So that will be Sunday, the 1st of January. And planning on streaming then probably. Also considering doing some sort of joint live stream with Lily the night before on the 31st, where we go for as long as we can and try to hit all the time zones of New Year's, starting with Pacific. See how long we can get. Actually, not starting with Pacific, starting with Europe, going until probably East Coast, because I don't actually want to stay up to midnight Pacific. So we'll see how that goes. And I'll let you know. Make sure you follow the channel and follow Lily. Her channel is linked below also. And we will see if we can pull something like that off. It'll be fun. Nils says apparently YouTube has finally decided they want to crack down on comment spam. Have you been seeing less of it? Because actually, now that you mention it, I think I've also been seeing less, or it's been getting good at filtering it, which is the other option. They do have, I do see some in my little, oh yeah. The filter has been getting better. Oh, it's been getting a little bit more aggressive because I see some legitimate comments in here too. Yeah, well, at least it's keeping most of the spam away. That's good. Eric says, New Year's Eve stream, marathon stream with Oh My Dollar Channel sounds good to me. Cool. Yeah, it'll be fun. We'll see what we can pull off. Don't quite know the format of that yet. The Drew says, oh, this is interesting. Verizon says they can't give me a SIM card for the YoloBox because the device is on a restricted list. Has anybody else had that problem? That's super bizarre. I have never tried asking a carrier for a SIM card because I like getting SIMs that are they just mail you one. I've been using SIMs I buy like at a convenience store, at a store down the street when I'm traveling. Or in the US, I've used my Mint Mobile SIM, and they don't really care about, they don't care what phone you have. You just tell them you have a phone that it'll work with, and they'll send you a SIM. That's super weird. I have not heard of that before. But if anybody else has heard that, let me know. See if we can crowdsource some data on that. Okay, a couple good questions coming in. Sports ball is going on. I'm rooting for that one team. Yeah, me too. That one team. Okay, let's take a couple questions here. And oh yeah, Sparkle Jacket comes out for New Year's, I bet. Definitely. Let's take a couple of questions from earlier. Carl says, what is the best practice for the ATEM Mini Inputs 1 or 2? Do these loop through to the 1 and or outputs directly? Can they be assigned via select bus or software control? Okay, so on the extreme, on the ATEM Mini Extreme, inputs 1 and 2 are special, and on the ATEM Mini, inputs 1 is special. And the only thing that's different about it, or I guess the difference that, oh, and I keep forgetting I only have my SDI version connected here. I can get to the one at home. To show you the interface. If I can remember the IP. There we go. The ATEM Mini Extreme, this is the ATEM Mini Extreme Multi-View or software control you're looking at. Input 1 and input 2 can be routed specially to output 1 and output 2 respectively. So normally output 1 and output 2 you can have anything out of that you want. Any of the 8 inputs, the colors, the multi-view, a super source, whatever, right? Program preview. Down here, it's going to be called whatever is your first camera with the name direct afterwards. So output 1 can have camera 1 direct. Output 2 gets only camera 2 direct. And that basically outputs it before it goes through any of the processing. So essentially it's less delay. So you'll get like a frame or two delay of out the output if you are using any of these other inputs, which really is not that bad. But if you're trying to use your computer, if you have like a computer plugged into the ATEM Mini like I'm doing right now, where I'm screen sharing, and you're trying to actually use your computer by looking at the output of the ATEM Mini on a monitor, that can get really, the delay is just enough to be frustrating. I'll just say it that way. And that's true with my larger setup with the Constellation as well. And what this does is it means you can output it before it goes through any of the processing so that it's lower latency. So really what it's for is, I feel like I need to draw a diagram of this because otherwise it just gets a little bit complicated to explain. Let's see how quickly I can do that with the overhead camera. So this seems like a good use of this. If you have your ATEM Mini, and this goes for the Mini or the Extreme. So this is the ATEM. And then you have like a camera. That looks like a camera, right? Don't plug it into input 1, plug it into input 2. So that goes into 2. Because you take your computer, let's say it's like a laptop is a bad, let's say laptop with a dual screen. So you have your laptop and you plug that HDMI into input 1. And then let's say you have your laptop in mirroring mode. So this is this is the screen, and then you have it mirrored, so you have dual displays, right? And you want to have a second monitor over here, so you can actually see. So that's like a monitor. And this would be out 1. So that's out of output 1. So if you set your computer into dual display mode, your main screen is here, your secondary screen is inside the ATEM, so you can stream the screen. If you want to actually use it as an external monitor also, now you can change this between seeing your camera or seeing your second computer screen. That's where you're going to get the delay. So if you just switch between the regular main and the computer in the output, you're going to get that extra delay, which just makes the mouse a little bit awkward to everything just slightly off. It just doesn't feel good. So instead, change it to the computer direct, input 1 direct, and then you'll get no delay on the external monitor here, which is much, much nicer. So that is the deal with inputs. Again, that's on the extreme. You get 2 inputs that can do that. Inputs 1 and 2 can be routed to the outputs 1 and 2 respectively. And on the ATEM Mini with the 4 inputs, only input 1 can do that. So that's the deal. Yeah. Oh, Drew, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Other ATEM Mini questions before we change topics. Can you do a recap during a live stream on an ATEM Mini? That was a little bit of a recap. Don't know what else I can just like, if you have any specific questions, let me know. Otherwise, I don't know, I could just talk about it for a while. Watch the video on remote producing with the ATEM Mini. With the YoloBox, do the same thing. So not quite. There's quite a lot of differences. And I think one of the big differences is kind of getting back into what I was just talking about of the YoloBox is really like, it's an all-in-one streaming device. So it like everything, it takes over the entire stream. It runs the entire stream. It publishes to multiple streaming destinations. It has built-in graphics. You can actually bring in inputs other than HDMI, like playing back videos from SD cards or remote guests. Lots of really cool stuff in there. The ATEM Mini is much more of like one part of the puzzle. So you have to start adding in other things to make it work. So it's not enough to do a stream with graphics and video playback and remote guests by itself. You have to start adding other gear to it as well. And that, I don't mind, neither of these are like right or wrong. There's just different ways of working. So if you, you'll notice that when I'm in my studio, I tend to use the ATEM gear more because I can leave stuff set up and I can connect things, and that's that's how I work here. But when I go travel somewhere, I don't want to bring the ATEM Mini plus all the things that it would take to be able to connect everything to it to make the show the same. So the other huge difference, which is probably more specific to this question, is the remote capabilities with the ATEM Mini. So by default, neither device has any like special thing in it that's going to let you control it from outside, but the YoloBox has absolutely no ability for any sort of external control, even in the studio. So if I have a YoloBox in the studio, I have to tap the device, the screen itself. I keep asking them to add in support to be able to use it with, for example, Companion, which is how I'm controlling this show, where I have all of my buttons that run this show, where I can go in here, I can press the Q button that makes that thing pop up. I can mute my microphone. I can change camera angles with these buttons over on the side. That's all controlling the ATEM, and I can't make a button that does anything on the YoloBox, which is a little bit unfortunate. So the reason I say this is because for remote production, if you are not anywhere near the device, you can't really do it with the YoloBox. So with an ATEM, you can set it up where you have like a computer or a Raspberry Pi running companion next to the ATEM Mini, where you can get the networking stuff set up so you can VPN in to make it work, where you can essentially remote control a whole kit with the ATEM. So that's the big missing part with the YoloBox, unfortunately. Hopefully they'll add it at some point. Oh, Rick says, this is a great point. Rick says, I've seen that some cameras do not work well with input 1 or 2 on the extreme, which have no problems on other channels. Yeah, that's a great point. So because of that special ability for inputs 1 and 2, or just 1 on the Mini, to be routed without any delay, they actually have a different chip on the inside of the ATEM Mini. So the chip that actually, that is the HDMI, like processes the HDMI signal, is different on inputs 1 and 2, and for whatever reason, it doesn't cooperate with certain cameras. And I don't know if anybody has figured out the pattern to it, but it just seems to sometimes not work. And if you plug it into a different input, it'll be fine. So kind of weird, a little bit annoying, but that's why. So if you ever have that problem of you plug something into input 1, it doesn't work, or it looks pink or something, try a different input, inputs 3 and up, and you might find that it works. And oh, great follow-up question here. How is it the ATEM SDI Extreme, anything special with inputs 1 and 4 and outputs 1 and 4 like you just talked about? So no. So if you look at the SDI, well, I have the SDI Pro here. If you go look at the output 1 and 2, also interesting difference with the SDI models. I have the Mini, just the 4 input. You can see there's only 4 cameras connected, but it has 2 SDI outputs, which is super, super cool, because that means you can do things like multi-view out plus an output for your computer monitor. But if you notice, there is no version of this that says direct out. And I think that's because SDI doesn't have the problem that HDMI does of adding an additional delay. So if you look at the actual rack that I've got over here of how I'm routing everything, there's a lot of stuff in here, right? And there's a lot of different devices, and most of them are pure SDI devices. So most of them are just SDI in and out. Now that I'm using the Constellation 4ME. And essentially there's no additional delay as you're chaining these things together, because the delay is like sub-frame. It's like scan line, a number of scan lines is how you measure it, right? So you don't get frame by frame delay when you're chaining these together. It's not like chaining 2 SDI things together is going to add another frame in between, whereas in HDMI that might be true. And so there is no difference of outputting out an SDI port with or without delay, because it doesn't actually introduce that much delay to begin with. But there is still like some amount of delay built in, and that's actually the reason that if you, let's see, I think I might have my gear diagram here for this setup, because this will take too long to draw on my little tablet. Let's see if that's true. Yeah, okay. So this is my gear diagram of the start of it. I'm starting to draw it. This is using the Constellation 4ME. I started this before I actually had it, as I was planning on what inputs and outputs to use for things. So if you look at how I have my Mac set up, if I had my Mac going HDMI out to a converter and then SDI into the Constellation and then the Constellation back out to a monitor, it turns out that delay is enough to be very frustrating. And I can't, the delay is like, it's very, very, very small, but it's just big enough that as you're moving your mouse or clicking on things, it just feels off. So it's like, it's really not that big of a deal. Unless you're using your computer all the time, if it's your main screen. So what I've got here in front of me, I have a monitor here. This is my computer monitor And this is how I'm looking at the chat and showing, like you can see the gear diagram is on it. This is the main computer, my main monitor for the computer here. And because this is how I use the computer, there's no other screen for it. Because it's the main monitor, that delay would be frustrating. And I don't know if you'll be able to tell from this, but I can put the computer screen up there, right? Because this is plugged into the Constellation. So, oh, I don't have a shortcut for it, but I can I can make one. Let's go make one really quick. I have this button here for monitors, which goes to page 25, and I never need to do this because I never use it this way, but I can make another button for what is the computer plugged into? Apple TV, so probably 5. Yep, input 5. Computer. Okay. So let's go back here. And if I press that button on the Stream Deck now, you'll see this will change to the computer. Now you can see both of my computer screens. The question is, can you see the delay? Because this one's barely in the shot. When I switch this other tab, oh, it's really subtle. It's really subtle. But you can see it. And if you scrub back through this and go frame by frame, you'll see that one changes first, and then that one changes. So if I were to use this is coming out of the Constellation, right? If I were to use this as the main monitor to navigate, again, it's really hard to describe the difference. It's just that when I'm deciding how much to move my mouse and when to stop, it's delayed. So it's just a little bit off. And again, it's really not a huge deal, but it's just enough to be really annoying if it's the only way you're using your computer all of the time. So what I did instead was on that monitor in front of me, let's go back to my diagram. I run the HDMI into the bidirectional converter, and I send SDI to the Constellation so that I can show you the screen on the stream. But the HDMI out of this actually goes to the monitor in front of me. And for whatever reason, they've built this bidirectional converter with the chip in the correct way where the HDMI out, when it's in pass-through mode, does not add a delay. So the HDMI out of the bidirectional converter to this monitor is super, super instant. There is no delay. It does not feel unnatural. But by the time I take the SDI out, go into the Constellation, and then go back out of the Constellation to a monitor, I think it was this one that goes to that monitor on the side, then I've got the extra, I don't even know if it's a 1 or 2 frames. I think it may be just 1 frame delay. So that's the deal. This is a great trick if you are using SDI switchers like the ATEM SDI ISO, and you want your computer to be real time. So hopefully that makes sense. Comically large 4ME diagram, lots of ins and outs. Is it because you use the microconverter? So yeah, I think that hopefully that cleared that up. So that I have the microconverter, which the HDMI in, HDMI out of the microconverter does not have a delay, but by the time it gets into the SDI gets into the Constellation, there is now that 1 frame. Frame delay is going to occur when there's scaling, frame rate conversions going on in the chain of devices. And the Constellation does have frame rate converters in it. So if I send a 60 frame per second signal, but it's set to 30 frames, it will convert it to 30 frames, and then that's where that delay gets added. The delay was noticeable from our vantage point. Great. Okay. Yeah, and I could probably actually, now that I think about it, record it with HyperDeck and go step by step. Let's see, do I have one? Do I have an SD card here? Yeah. So if I go take that HyperDeck and go to, let's go, oh, I gotta get back to my big one. HyperDeck HD Mini. These names are so confusing. I think that's the one. Yeah, okay. So HyperDeck is recording the wide camera where you can see the two monitors. Go back to showing the computer over there, and then I should be able to use my, I'll go to here so you can see it as well as I record it. Go to my HyperDeck screen and HD Mini. I should be able to record. Oh. Nope. HD, this one. There we go, recording. Okay, and now as I switch, okay, so there we go. Back and forth, stop that. Now there's a clip in there which I can scrub through. So let's go back here to the super source and put the HyperDeck in the super source, HyperDeck Mini. Okay, so that's a side camera live. And then if I put it into playback mode, yeah, so that's the recorded. So I don't have like a jog wheel for it. I have to actually, I don't have a remote jog wheel. I have to actually use the real jog wheel. So I think it's search. If I scrub through this, yeah. Here we go. So I wish you could see the time code on it. There, let me go back. So it looks like this is 12:07, 12:08. So it changes on my screen in front of me at 12:08, 12:09, 10. It's halfway. 3 whole frames. Okay, it's 3 frames of delay. That's more than I thought it was going to be. So that answers that question. That was fun. Get my multi-view back. There we go. What are the lines while switching to playback? It's just the when you switch the HyperDeck between record and playback mode, it just takes a second. It just like glitches for a second. I don't actually know what it actually is. Definitely a few millisecond difference. Yeah, 3 frames, and I'm streaming at 30 frames a second, so that's, I always have to do this math. 1,000 over 30 times 30, so it's 100 milliseconds, which is enough to be annoying. If you go back and look at the early computer science research in interface design, there was a lot of research done about how long after you click something should the computer show you that it's been clicked before it feels weird. And this was back before we had 60 frame per second or 120 frame per second monitor refresh rates, and before computers were fast. But I believe 100 milliseconds is lower than the threshold where you don't, it's low enough where it still feels like you had a direct, it's responding directly, but it's definitely noticeable. But once you get up to I think it's 200 milliseconds, then when you click and then you see the result, it doesn't feel like the result of the thing you did anymore. It feels like there's a different thing responding. Okay, let me see if there's any other questions about this before we go find another topic. Alex says, I don't get much of a delay. Yeah, so it is under that threshold. I forget the name of that. What is that? It's been a long time since I had that, learned that. Tycho says, does a higher frame rate give a lower latency? I don't think so, and I can't switch my thing into a different frame rate right now while streaming, because that would be chaos. But my Constellation is set to 2997, not 60 frames a second, and I don't know if it would reduce the latency. It's an interesting theory. I don't know if I have a good way to test that either, because I do have the ISO that I could mess with the frame rate on, but I don't know if I can. Yeah, because I don't have a way to get the. No, it wouldn't be a good test because my computer is not connected directly into that small ATEM Mini ISO. It's connected through the Constellation, so I don't have a way to, without rewiring it, to do that same test. I'll have to do that later. Would the delay be the same from SDI to HDMI and HDMI to SDI? Do you mean with the bidirectional converter? If you take the bidirectional converter and you do SDI in to both SDI and HDMI, I don't know what the HDMI out is. I'm assuming it wouldn't have. I don't think it would be the whole 100 millisecond delay, if anything, and the SDI out would definitely not have a delay. And then if you have it in the other mode, HDMI to both out, we just saw that the HDMI out does not add a delay. Okay, some other discussions going on in the chat. Oh, another question about inputs 1 and 2 from Eckstein. Some of the problems is the auto frame rate settings on port 1 and 2. If you set the camera and the input settings on the ATEM to 25, it works in most instances. That is a very good point. I totally forgot about that. So that's another, I don't use it in that mode because of the problems that I had with it. Let me go back to the other ATEM and if you look at the settings in the video standard, I always set mine to the frame rate that I want. So I always set mine to 2997. And there is, however, in the minis, this auto mode. And what that does is, I believe it, I'm not 100% sure, it either detects the first thing you plugged in or it always locks it to input 1. I don't remember which one of those because it's super unreliable for me when I do that. But basically, if you plug in a 60 frame per second computer into input 1 when it's in auto mode, it'll set the frame rate of the whole system to 60 frames a second and then scale everything to that. I don't like that because I don't necessarily know, like, when you boot everything up from it being powered down, you don't know what is the first thing that's going to show up in the system. So I like to just always lock it at the frame rate that I know I'm going to be using for the show. And I would definitely recommend you do that also. I think the auto thing was in there just because it's, it can, I don't know. I actually don't know why I would ever use that now that I think about it. MT says, do you plan to label the devices with the ports on the 4ME, for example, the monitor in a corner? Instead of labeling the screens around me, I've been labeling things in the ATEM. So if you look at the Constellation, I've actually labeled all of my inputs and outputs. So I can, so inputs, obviously, but then also outputs. So I wish they had done these in a different order. So I have 4 outputs from the Constellation going into that small ATEM Mini ISO. Then I've got the teleprompter monitor. I've got the monitor on that tripod over there. Oh wait, no, that's the one I don't know what it is. Side monitor is this one over here. The rolling monitor is the one on the other camera rig over there. This is a patch on the patch port on the front of the rack. I have that patch panel, and that's input 16 on that, or output 16. I have 2 going into the Ultimat for testing. I have 1 going into the HyperDeck. So I don't need to have, like, on the monitor on the side here, I don't need like this monitor to be labeled 7, because anytime I want to go and route something to it, I'm going to be going to this menu and saying, oh, side monitor, right? And then what do I send over there? Or I make buttons on the Stream Deck. So I don't need to label the monitors themselves. Is it possible, from Dell MixEdit, is it possible to get the ATEM Mini to stream in 720p for Amazon? Not the large one. I keep feeling like the original the ATEM minis have a mode for that, and then I think that is not true. Yeah, okay, so I keep thinking about my older TV Studio HD, which does, when you go into the mode setting of choosing the frame rate, notice they're all 1080. So the ATEM Mini is a 1080 device. There is no other resolution that it supports. The TV Studio HD, the older one, it does have the ability to go into 720 mode, but it's all in that mode. It doesn't support dual at all. So yeah, for Amazon expects a 720 stream and will not work with a 1080 stream. So that's a little bit annoying. The YoloBox does let you stream a 720 stream, but have 1080 things connected into it. So on the YoloBox, you can switch your stream into 720p mode and stream to Amazon from that, but you can't stream directly from the ATEM Mini. Wait, Nils says the mini range can be set to 720, 50, and 60. Okay, so I'm not crazy. I did see it. I was just looking at the ATEM Mini Extreme just now, which does not do it, which is why I remembered seeing it. That is fascinating. I don't have... I do have an ATEM Mini Pro ISO, but I don't have a power cord for it close by. Now I want to see that. Because I swear I had remembered that. And then I didn't see it in the Extreme, but I haven't used the regular ATEM Mini in a long time. But, okay, so if you have the ATEM Mini Pro, I'm assuming that's the one that supports it, you could set it into 720 mode. It should scale down your 1080 into 720 for streaming to Amazon. But again, the whole program is set to 720. You don't get the ability to record 1080 and stream 720. So while we're talking about resolutions from Tycho, what are your visions on 4K live streaming or high bit rate? I have decided that I don't want to prioritize 4K live streaming. I don't think that anything I'm doing would really benefit from 4K here, and it would require a very large step up in all of the gear. So I did just upgrade all the cameras. So I do have cameras that support 4K, but the Constellation 4ME that I just got, it's expensive and it has 40 inputs, but it is not a 4K device. So if I wanted to get 4K, I actually have to buy an older version of an ATEM because they haven't upgraded their 4K line yet. And I didn't want to buy I didn't want to buy a device that's that old, basically, to do it. You have to go up to either the 8K, which you can put it into 4K mode, which is gone up from $10,000. Now it's $11,245, which is a lot. And I didn't really want to spend that much on it. Or there's this one, which I don't really want this form factor at all. I want it to be rack mounted. So this is the only new 4K thing they've got. And then this is the other one. And this line, which you can tell because it's the light gray, this is the older line. So it doesn't have things like the Fairlight audio in it. It doesn't have frame rate converters on the inputs. It doesn't do the new chroma keying is not in it. So I didn't want to like spend, $4,000 or more on a 4K device just for 4K. So it's gonna be a while before I care about 4K streaming. And then like the bandwidth requirements, I can definitely support it coming out of my gigabit connection here, but most people who are watching are not gonna be watching in 4K anyway, so whatever. Larry says, on the YOLO or HDMI ATEM, if you have 3 HDMI devices, each with SDI conversion, do you still get delays? Basically so the YoloBox is a slightly different story. The delays work a little bit differently in that. But on the ATEM, if you have the HDMI ATEM, the HDMI ATEM, if you have SDI devices that you're converting to HDMI, that's the one I haven't measured. I haven't measured that delay because I was measuring the other delay. It would be interesting to do that. I don't know if I have enough stuff nearby to rig that up, of like SDI source going out SDI and out HDMI to see if the HDMI ends up with more delay. But as far as like if you're doing multiple devices, it's not like it's gonna you're not gonna be with the ATEM. The ATEM just does everything all at once. There's no like CPU in it to overload. So if you're doing 3 conversions in it, it can handle it just fine because it's just got the circuits built for that. Neil says, sorry, correction, streaming modes are indeed limited to 1080. Inputs can deal with 720. Okay, that is what I remembered, and thank you for following up on that. So the ATEM Mini device can only be set to 1080 frame rates, but yeah, it will upscale 720 sources to 1080 if you want. Oh, great. Another follow-up from the thing I wasn't sure about. From Xteen, port 1 is auto-detect and then sets it for all the other ports. Okay, so it's not the first thing you plug in, it's specifically port 1. Thanks for double checking on that. Let me scroll back up here a little bit. There were some earlier questions. From Larry, using the YoloBox Pro to output iMag, all of a sudden the output was miniaturized to the left, yellow screen looked good, recorded video was good, iMag was unusable, had to restart during the event. That is super weird. No idea. No idea. I will say though, the while we're talking about delays, the YoloBox will have significantly more of a delay on the HDMI out compared to the ATEMs, just because it is a CPU-based device rather than a bunch of chips that do all the work. So I don't know if I would use the YoloBox HDMI out for outputting to the room, just because there is going to be a significant delay. The 100 milliseconds you get in the ATEM going out, if you're using that in a projector, like it will be noticeable, but it's still only 100 milliseconds, so it's not that bad for the audience. If they're seeing, and if you go to like large productions, you'll see that that's just how it works. You just have to, there just is going to be that delay. But when you have like a stage with the huge person talking on the screen, but then, they're sitting on the podium right next to it, there is a delay there, but it's not that bad. And I think you'll end up with a significantly worse delay going out of the YoloBox. So I would probably actually try to do your output for the screen before it gets into the YoloBox. So like an HDMI splitter where you send one copy up to the screen and then another copy into the YoloBox. David's reminding people to give us a thumbs up. Only 18 people have done that so far. Give the stream a thumbs up. Easy way to support the channel. Thanks for the reminder, David. Gerhard says, does the ATEM TV Studio HD have scalers on the inputs? No, it does not. And that was one of the most frustrating things about using it. I used that for a very long time. That's the little half rack one, or 2/3 rack. What is it? 2/3? I think it's 2/3. No, I think it's half. I can never remember. I haven't turned it on in a while. But it does not have scalers on the inputs or frame rate converters even. So you have to have all your inputs match exactly. And that's also true with the older line of the ATEM 4Ks, where they also don't have the frame rate converters. So it's really frustrating, because essentially if you're dealing with a device that doesn't have options of choosing the output frame rate, then you have to buy something to convert the frame rate, which is going to be like a $300 decimator device, probably. Here's an earlier question that I missed. From Guillaume, is it possible to do picture-in-picture properly on an ATEM Mini Pro ISO, or do I have to record a macro? If you mean, so the ATEM, I'm trying to remember this. I need this in front of me. The ATEM Mini Pro ISO. So it has these buttons that are picture-in-picture buttons, and these are essentially like presets that are built in. So when you tap any of these, it will change the layout of the picture-in-picture to whatever corner it is. And I think it also, I can't remember exactly, I think it uses whatever is the last setting in terms of the inputs. I think that's what it does. Essentially, it's not useful. I've never used these because they're not flexible. So those are the buttons. The buttons are annoying, but the actual capability of the ATEM Mini itself, you can do all sorts of stuff with picture-in-picture. So a macro is definitely one way to do it, and I did that for a very long time, making macros and then running them from other devices. But I would absolutely recommend that you look into the software called Companion, which is what I'm using here. And this is essentially a lot easier to manage than macros. So if I go to, let's go make a new button, for example. And if I go make a new picture-in-picture button, essentially what you can do is you can configure all the options in the ATEM with one button from this. So, and then if you want to edit it, it's a lot easier to edit. So let's say you want to make your upstream key set the input on your key to be camera 1, which is gonna be your small one, right? And then you want, let's see, upstream key set the DVE properties. This is actually a really useful new feature where if you get it set the way you want on the device, you can press learn and then it'll just suck in all the settings and remember it for you. So this is looking like it's doing 0.95. That's not very small. Let's do like 0.25. So it's a quarter size, right? That'll be a picture-in-picture. So this is kind of like a macro because recording a macro on the ATEM will essentially record the same sequence of steps that you would do in here. This just means if you want to, it's easier to manage because you can like visually see what the actions are. But then if you also want to make a new button, you can just copy the button over here and then be like, oh, I'm making a new button, which puts camera 2 in the small thing instead of camera 1. So then you can say picture-in-picture, cam 1, picture-in-picture, cam 2, and now you've got your 2 buttons. And that was a lot faster than making a macro to do those. So, but yeah, you can do picture-in-picture of whatever you want. And it works the same way in the Constellation that I'm using and the ATEM Minis. You just get more of them in the Constellations. So like if I take, what am I using? Input, upstream key 4 I'm not using. So we can go and say, let's make the Apple TV the half size, or let's say 0.4. And then let's put it on air. There it is. So we've got a border. You can position it wherever you want, right? And then if you go into Companion, you can then press the Learn button, and it will pull those settings into that button. Then your button will always restore back the same settings. Eric says, I remember older episodes when we got to see all the macro creation editing. It was a while ago because I pretty much stopped using macros and I switched over to Companion instead. So, yeah. Follow-up, sorry, custom picture-in-picture, half of the screen for 1 and half for 2. Okay, not exactly. So what you can do with the ATEM Mini, or any of the ATEM Minis with the upstream key, is you can take one source and put it on the screen somewhere. So if I go back and bring this Apple TV online, I would take off the border, I would make it size 1, I would put it there, I would put it vertically in the middle, and then I would scoot it over. And then you can also crop it to crop the left, and then make it halfway, right? You can do this with the ATEM Mini. And what you can't do with the ATEM Mini is make it so that this background layer is also scooted over. That's what's missing. So you get one upstream key on the ATEM Mini, and you can do this with it. You can put this video source off to the side and crop it, but you can't do that with the second one. The ATEM Mini Extreme, however, let me go back to that. One of the best things about the ATEM Mini Extreme is that it gives you a lot more of those options. So for example, you get 4 upstream keys. So you could put 4 things on the screen, but you also have the better way of doing it, which is Super Source, which is how I'm making this layout right now, which is with Super Source. So that's where you basically, it like creates the scene, and the scene's just one other source you can switch to, and you can put up to 4 boxes on the scene. I'm only using 2 right now. I've got this camera and the computer screen, but you can add 2 more as well. So you can do 4-up news layouts and stuff like that. And that's in the ATEM Mini Extreme and the Constellation line. Although wait, I think it's not in the base model Constellation, which is super weird. But anyway, it's in the bigger one, in the bigger ATEMs. And it's one of the best features of the ATEM Mini Extreme. Absolutely fantastic. What are you doing? Says, I'm glad I found this channel in the macro days. I made a macro last week because I couldn't find the options in Companion. That is a great point. Sometimes there are things in Companion they're just missing, and it doesn't support the thing you need to poke in the ATEM. In that case, that's a good use to record a macro. So I think I've actually done that already a couple times with the Constellation. So we go back to my Constellation. If you look at the macros I've created, yeah, one of them is on ME2, on upstream key 2. Oh, it's for when I show you the multi-view. So what, do I have that handy? Yeah, okay, so here is my config. What was that called? USK2 MV cover. So USK2 MV cover. So this is the macro I recorded in my Constellation, because apparently one of the things in here I couldn't do in Companion. Borders you can. Once I did one of them, then I just made it all of them. I can't remember which one isn't in Companion. And then, oh, the other reason you may want to do macros instead of Companion is if you need the timing of everything to be extremely precise. So for example, notice how I'm changing a whole bunch of properties of the different keyers. This can actually take sometimes more than a frame for Companion to send to the ATEM, in which case you may end up seeing a slight glitch in the program if you're doing it while it's on air. So what the macro does instead is it does everything like inside of a frame, like between frames. It doesn't, you won't see the glitch then. So this macro turns off the 2 keyers, waits 1 frame because you have to have a frame in between for it to like do the action. Then it sets up all these properties and brings the keyers back on air, and then it's instant, so you won't see any delay. If I were to do this in Companion, you would see it would take longer. I would have to add more delay while it happens off screen, or you would see a glitch. So I can show you that one looks like this. Oh, I spoke too soon. There was a glitch. What was that? Now it's not going to do it again. I'm going to have to fix that. So that was the exact glitch I wanted to avoid. I think it might be that key 0 and 1 may have been set to a different type, and I thought 1 frame was enough to let it kick in, but that might not be true. Interesting. So if I go back to key this is on ME2. So upstream key on ME2. So it's set to 1 and 2. Okay, 2 and 4. Are those the ones I'm using? No, key index 0 and 1. So if I change these, oh, right. If I change these to, let's say, pattern, no, let's say chroma with a multi-view just so it's super something totally different. And then upstream key 1. I just want to try to recreate that glitch. That was super annoying. Okay, so we're going to set all these to something else. And then we're going to press that button again. Okay, here we go. Yeah, okay. So apparently I need to wait a little bit longer than 1 frame for that, because I was changing the type of key to DVE in this macro, and that sleep 1 was not enough for the key to fully go off air before it changed type. So basically, so weird. That's so weird. That doesn't feel right. Let me double check my companion. That was that button. iPhone overlay macro 3. Yeah, that is that macro. Okay, well, I got some troubleshooting to do, but yeah. This is a good point too. Neil says, I like using macros with the ATEM Mini Extreme when I'm on the road. I don't need to bring another device because it has the 6 macro buttons. Yeah. David says, is MixEffect just as effective as Companion? I would say it's quite different. It's more like an iPad version of this. It's more like an iPad interface for controlling the whole thing. It does do actually a lot more than the computer software control does, but it isn't really like Companion. It doesn't let you, like, you can run macros and you can create macros in it, but it doesn't let you build things in the same way that Companion does. It's more like how you create macros here. But it does a ton of more stuff, like the SuperSource visual editor and all sorts of cool stuff. I don't have time to go into that today. Yeah, MixEffect is time saving for this animation of SuperSource layouts, or even just creating them. Even if you're not animating them, it's way better at controlling SuperSource than the software control is. And Companion is frankly also very frustrating to deal with SuperSource as well. Okay, I just realized we've been chatting for so long, and I have a couple of new products to show you. So let me go and get these set up while so I can show you these. I have a couple of fun little things to check out. So, thanks to Comica, first of all, for sending this out. This is a new mixer, new audio interface, I guess that's what it's called. This is linked below. What is it, 85? Yeah, LinkFlex 85. So, couple of interesting features about this. First of all, 2 microphone inputs, XLR and 1/4" jack, 48-volt power. You may notice that it's actually on, so it is battery powered as well, or it can be powered over USB-C. So it's got a little battery in it. And then you have a nice knob for adjusting the gain of the 2 inputs, and it's actually got a lot of nice resistance. I don't know, it's very satisfying to turn it. And then you've got a headphone out for monitoring, either direct or loopback. I haven't figured out what the loopback does yet. We can see if we can figure that out. On the other side, 1/4" outputs left and right, headphone, smartphone, line out, and then 2 USBs. So it can actually feed a whole bunch of different stuff. You know, line outs for like feeding into a different mixer or speakers with line inputs. That phone icon, that is meant to feed a smartphone. So it'll work with, no, I can't remember if it actually came with cables for the smartphone. Yeah, it did. Okay, so there's all sorts of cables in here. It has, and a little manual, might come in handy. That one I think I already opened. So this cable, it comes with this cable, which is, you may notice, is the 4-segment TRRS, not TRS. This is for the smartphone. So you can plug this into the interface and go into a smartphone analog. Comes with a USB-C cable that actually has a little adapter on it, which is like handy. So if you want USB-A or C. And it comes with 3 of them actually, because I've got one that I unwrapped already. So 3 of those. And so one is for power, right? USB-C power, and then 2 USB ports. So you can go to 2 different devices. You can go to an iPad and a computer, or 2 iPads and use it with both at the same time, which is kind of neat. Neat trick. But let's plug in a microphone and plug it into my iPad. And we can maybe take a look at the manual if we need to. I have a microphone around here somewhere. It does support 48 volt phantom power if you are using a microphone that requires that. This one does not. And there we go, getting some levels in there. Hello, hello. Testing, testing. You can see it bouncing. And oh, that's too much. So I'll turn it down. Whoa, way too much. There we go. Got a couple little effects in it too. Some built-in EQ and reverb as well. And then denoise, which I kind of want to test because that is intriguing. Not that there's very much noise in here today. So let me plug this into the iPad. And we will take a look. Oh, Keith, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. Okay. USB 1 goes into the iPad over USB-C. And you'll see, holiday coffee money, thank you. That's perfect because we ran out of coffee at home this morning, so I've only had 1 cup so far today, and I need some more. So I will go to the coffee shop after this. Okay, so this is plugged into the iPad, and notice that it shows up as a USB device. So this app is called Ferrite. I like it. I don't know. I've been using it for like recording podcasts and stuff on the iPad. But the yeah, one of the nice things is it makes it very clear in the app if you're connected to an external device and not just using the built-in microphone. So like it'll say, if I unplug this, it'll say built-in iPad microphone front and cardioid. That's the built-in mic, which actually is half decent, I would say, on the iPad. But here is the interface, and you notice it's stereo, so I've only got 1 channel on the left, so we should probably try to fix that. And I believe there is a way to do that on here. Here's a mode. What is the mix? The main fader is probably for the headphones. Okay, mute. Let's go through these buttons. Mute mutes everything, yep. Denoise, we'll listen to that in a second. That FX button toggles the different reverbs, which we'll listen to in a second. And then how do we get to, I don't think it's touchscreen. No, it's not a touchscreen. How do we get to the EQ and the direct input? That button on the side does that. Loop back. Am I missing a button for the EQ? There's the, nope. Time to read the manual. I thought I had figured this out ahead of time. Long press this to switch between EQ. There we go. So it turned orange, and now I'm toggling between EQ settings. Interesting, okay. But I wanted to go to, okay, it is this button. Recording, streaming mode, short press to switch between recording and streaming. So it's changing that icon up there. Stereo in recording mode, mono in streaming mode. So if we look at the iPad, it's in record mode, we got 1 channel. And then in stream mode, yeah, there it goes. Now it's doing 2 channels out. I guess that makes sense because you would want, for recording a podcast, you would want to record each microphone separately so that you can mix it later. And then, but for streaming, like we're about to do now, obviously I want one microphone out both channels. Cool. So that is pretty straightforward. Does seem a little bit strange that the mode button is the only physical button. These ones are like screen buttons. But anyway, that is going into the iPad now. So let's share that to the Apple TV so that I can play the audio back into the stream. How do I get the audio from the Apple TV? Yeah, okay. So we should be able to record into this and then play back on the stream in a second. And we'll see how it sounds. Do I have a way to hear it myself? Ooh, I need that. I need a way to hear it in the room. I guess I could wear headphones, but I would like a way to hear it in my room. Well, do I have the ability to do that yet? Let's record. Hello, testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. This is a recording from the Comica audio interface, and we're going to play this back in a second to see if I can get audio playing in my house speakers. Okay, and then if I play that back, are we hearing it on the stream? If I can get audio playing in my house speakers. Okay. So I can route it to the stream. I don't think I can get it into my house speakers, so I'm going to have to wear headphones to do this. That's okay. Okay. So let's go back and show you. Record. Hello, testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. This is a recording from the Comica audio interface, and we're going to play this back in a second to see if I can get audio playing in my house speakers. Not bad. So that was a recording with the EQ set to deep. So let's change that to bright and do another test. This is a test of recording with the Comica audio interface in bright EQ mode. Let's see if this sounds like anything different, and play back on the stream. This is a test of recording with the Comica audio interface in bright EQ mode. Let's see if this sounds like anything different, and play back on the stream. Record. Hello, testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. This is. Oh yeah, that is quite different. Let's play with some of the effects. This is the room reverb setting, and we'll see what this sounds like. This is the room reverb setting, and we'll see what this sounds like. Oh yeah, you can definitely hear it. Let's go to Hall and record a sample. This is the Hall reverb effect on the Comica audio mixer. Let's take a look at this. This is the Hall reverb effect on the Comica audio mixer. Let's take a look at this. Yeah, wow, yeah. And then last I want to check denoise, but it's not really noisy in here, so I don't know if this is going to actually do anything. But we'll turn it on. This is an audio sample recorded with the denoise effect on, and maybe I can make some other noise. I don't know, brush it up against my sweater, like wearing a microphone wrong or something. We'll see how that works. This is an audio sample recorded with the denoise effect on, and maybe I can make some other noise. I don't know, wearing a microphone wrong or something. See how that works. Wow. Okay, that was aggressive. You can definitely hear the gate is clamping down on it quite a bit more. And I was like doing like this when you didn't hear anything at all. I was going like this with the microphone. So that is impressive. That is definitely impressive. Very cool. Okay. So yeah, I don't know. That's a cool little thing. Um, the I think one of the most, I think the interesting thing here is that is how many different outputs it has. So you can plug into two different USB devices. So record on an iPad, go out into like the ATEM, for example. Actually, that's a great question from Graham. What would you need to take the output from that into the ATEM Mini? So you could do it with the line outs. So you could take the 1/4 inch to an 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch cable to 1/8 inch cable. You could probably, you could do it with an 1/8 inch cable here as well. They only give you the phone 1/8 inch cable, so that one probably won't work. You need to get a regular 1/8 inch. And then these would both be sending out line outputs. So you'd set your ATEM Mini into line mode and then take it in that way. But that could be useful for if you're trying to, if you want to like record on an iPad, but then also stream over the ATEM Mini, or just use the iPad as a backup recording for your audio. That's kind of handy. But yeah, also battery powered again. So this is not plugged into power right now. So that is also handy. Yeah. Overall, it's a neat little box. And we just did the recording digitally onto the iPad, playing it back from that, and you heard the audio coming off the iPad, and it sounds great. This is with the Shure SM58, which I've been using for podcast recordings lately. When you want the look of you're using a microphone when you're recording yourself. Cool, yeah, that is that. And then let's take a look at the other thing that I wanted to look at today. Any other questions about that? Eric says Comica AD5 presets on the EQ are not bad, actually useful. I think so, yeah. There's no like finer grain control. You just get the deep, natural, and bright settings, but it's nice that it's just simple. Okay, let's put this away because I got one more fun thing to take a look at. Which is this little PTZ follow camera. Hopefully the music's not too loud. Let me know. I try to get the music volume setting right. Okay. So, next up, we have this little robot. Oh, I should probably drop the link into the chat for timestamps. It should be in the description already, but this little robot it was hard to find when I was searching Amazon, so definitely need the link. There's RGBvoice Auto Tracking camera. Not too loud, perfect. Actually, great, thanks. Okay. This little PTZ camera, it doesn't really make a lot of sense when you just look at it at first. It is you can see it's got little cameras on the side. These are its little eyes, so it can track you, and it's got them all the way around, so it can see all the way around it. This thing on the front kind of just spins, but it also tilts, which I have to do only when it's on. And then up in this little slot, you can connect either their camera, which is not a good camera, but it's more like a security camera quality. I would not record stuff on this, but what got me excited about this was the ability to put a phone in it. So you can put a phone in here and it will clamp it once it's on. So let's turn that on. This also has a battery, so you don't need to plug it in. And now that it's on, it's like resisting me pushing it. And if I put this phone in here, check this out. It just grabbed it. So now, oh, let me see if I can get you my side camera. kind of need to, I don't have a, yeah, there we go. I should have probably turned this down a little bit. So it's looking around, but check out the, check this out from this side. So it's just gonna like spin this phone around now. But what it's trying to do is it's trying to find me and point at me. So what I'm gonna do before I do that is go into the phone setting. Come on. Oh, I should have done it before I put the phone in it. How do I get it out? I think you just like force it. Yeah, pull it. Okay. I meant to AirPlay this over to the Apple TV so I can show you its view. Screen mirroring, and we're using the app called Shoot, which is impossible to search for, but I think I have a link to it. If not, I'll add one later. So it's gonna grab that phone, and now I've got a feed from the app, from the phone. So let's do a little test of putting this on a little tripod. Oh, I should have thought about the audio. We're gonna have to switch to the, are you hearing double? No. Why do I keep forgetting to grab a wireless mic? Fastest way. Does I thought the Shoot app also sent audio, but I'm not seeing it on the Apple TV. The mannequin head is a little freaky. It'll make more sense later. It is a little bit freaky just sitting over there. Anyway, what can I do for audio? Is this thing charged? I can grab audio into a camera somewhere, right? So once I go walk around this room, you're not gonna be able to hear me. So let's grab. There we go. DJI, mic. And then I'm just going to have to put this onto one of the cameras in here. How about that one? No idea if this is going to work. Okay, so that's the wide camera, which is, gotta figure out how to label my cameras better. So menu, wide camera, it's too low, which means probably that the audio setting, sound level, 0 dB, mic socket line. Aha, mic. There we go. Okay. Nice little remote control cameras here, coming in handy. So I should be able to route this audio now. That is the wide audio. And double check. Hello. Yeah. Definitely different sounding microphone, but hey. Yeah, I forgot you're not using a mini and can't just plug it in the back. Exactly. I guess I could have plugged it in the back of that SD. No, that's not routed back into the... Anyway, let's go back to what I was actually trying to show you, which was this little camera that's trying to follow me around. What I'm going to do is put it on this tripod over here, or I guess it's like actually like a light stand. If I try to use the screw the proper direction, that would help. So there's actually a 1/4 inch mount on the bottom. And now this is just sitting in the middle of the room. I don't have my other phone to show you. But let's see if it can find me. Hello, over here. Hello, there we go. So now it is found my face, and it should follow me around. And I'm streaming this because my phone, right? It's a wireless on the Wi-Fi going out to the Apple TV, so you can see it. And now you can look around the studio, and oh, it's doing a pretty good job. What happens if I go back behind this contraption? Will it find me over here? Not bad. And I want to take a look at the mannequin head. Let's see. Will it get tricked by the mannequin head is the question. Oh, I was like a foot away from it too. So it did that little jump pretty good. Hello, this is my friend. She helps me with green screen tests. That's the next project, is putting her in front of a green screen and seeing how it handles the hair. You can see my front door over here and my back door over here. What happens if I disappear completely? And now I'm out of the shot. Will it pick up again when I come back into the room? Oh yeah, look at that. Not bad. It is quick. It is very quick to move. So it does have, I'm blocked by the teleprompter, of course. It does have a setting, which is, where did I put the little manual for it? It does have a setting. I will say the little interface that it comes with is a little bit hard to read. So where's this? It has all these little, it has this one light on the front telling you what it's doing. And it can turn this light all these different colors to tell you what's going on. So it has what's called stable tracking mode and sensitive tracking mode. So we are in, I can't see the light because it's on the other side, but I think it was stable. Sensitive, to do that, you press, what is it? Oh yeah, there's a remote. I should have mentioned that too. It comes with this little remote, which is handy, but it is round, so you can't tell which way is up. But with the remote, you can actually force it to go one direction or the other, which is kind of cool. So you can use it to just force it. And then, oh yeah, one of the other tricks it has is it can tilt. So let's see, it should still be following me. And then you can actually have it tilt the phone up or down, depending on what you're doing, which is kind of neat also. So I just have it at like, eye level. And then one of the other things the remote can do was change between the tracking modes. So where is the light? Okay, it's white. So what was it? Long, short press? Yeah, now it's in the other tracking mode. So let's see if this behaves differently. This is in, hello, come over here. Hello. Is it stopped? Is it paused? Maybe I paused it. We'll say this is, oh yeah, there it goes again. Apparently I paused it. Yellow pause. Okay, it was yellow. And then long press it to go into the sensitive mode. So we'll do that. Let's see if that worked. I should have turned this other way around so I could see the light from the other side of the room. Okay, long press. Come on, no? Oh, there it goes. No, now it's paused. I can't get it to go into the sensitive tracking mode. Yellow, white, yellow. Now it's paused again. Yeah, I can't figure out how to get into the other tracking mode. That's weird. Now I'm over here. Can you find me? Hello? There we go. I do see a couple questions. If you mount the mannequin head onto the device, you'll get a great Halloween prop. Okay, that's pretty funny. Do you think it was confused between me and the mannequin? Maybe. We also use a mannequin for lighting the studio set and green screen. Yeah, I got it for the lighting demo I did with Small Rig, but then also before I had all the remote control cameras, trying to focus the camera when I'm sitting here is almost impossible because I have to I can't reach the camera from here. So I was using it for a prop. You should go out of one door, come in the other to check the tracking. It's too gross outside. We'll do that later. Lily, got to go to my stream. See y'all later. Oh, bring it to the ice rink. Yeah, it'll be fun. I have no idea how it'll handle multiple people in the room. So that would be a good test. We can see if we can follow Lily ice skating. Did it clench down on the camera all on its own? Yeah, it has a little sensor, and when you put the phone in, it goes and squeezes it to grab it. Cool. Okay, so we are just about at time. Thanks to RGBvoice for sending that over. Fun little demo. And maybe I'll bring it to the rink and see how it handles trying to track Lily. Oh, I didn't get a chance to show you this camera, but I will say the picture quality out of this is about what you'd expect for a tiny webcam style camera. I think it's meant to be like a security camera because you can actually connect it to a phone app also, and then pull up the stream in your phone and see it, and also control it from the phone. But it looks like, let's see if I can find it. We're almost out of time. Device is offline. Come on. Bluetooth is on. Yeah, I don't know how to get it back into discovery mode to find it. But I did try it in the app, and it was yeah, security camera style, right? But I think that's what it's for. All right, that was fun. Again, we will be back next week, same time, and I don't have the exact plan set yet for New Year's Eve / New Year's Day, but we will probably be doing something interesting during that time. So thank you all for joining. Thanks for tuning in every week, and come back same time, same place. We're gonna go bounce over to Lily's channel in a second. She is gonna be talking about analog budgeting methods. The link is below, and this stream should auto redirect if you're watching live as soon as I click end. So she starts in about 45 seconds. And yeah, thanks as always for being here, and see you again next week.